My brother didn't introduce me at his wedding like a sister. He introduced me like a stain. He dragged me through a ballroom full of linen and money. His hand clamped around my wrist as if I might bolt and ruin the pictures. His smile was bright enough to pass for charming. You snorts didn't know the man behind it? You have to meet my future father-in-law, he said. The word sweet, the grip knot. The place was a countryside club outside Baltimore. Manicured lawns, chandeliers, glass doors open to the night. The kind of venue where even the silence has a dress code. Inside, the air smelled like citrus cocktails and expensive perfume. And the industry people stood in clusters like well-fed sharks. Baltimore is my home, not the postcard version, the working version. The port cranes against a gray sky. Freight yards that hum after midnight. Rails threading through the city like veins. That's my language. Flow, bottlenecks, timing. I'm Scarlett, 34, a transport network optimization specialist. One build routing logic for freight systems. I look at a mess of containers, trains, handoffs, contracts, and delays, and I can tell you where the blood is pooling. I don't post about it. I don't do conferences. I just fix things that cost millions when they go wrong. My family doesn't understand any of that. In my family, success is loud. It's job titles that make strangers nod. It's photos, ceremonies, and being impressive at dinner. My brother Cooper is all of it. Corporate manager at a prestigious logistics company. Polished, social. The kind of person who makes you feel like you're lucky he's letting you stand near his life. He's marrying the daughter of Victor Hallberg, a multimillionaire who owns a logistics empire up and down the East Coast. Port terminals, rail contracts, cross-country freight. My parents have been floating for weeks like balloons tied to Hallberg's name. And me. I was invited the way you invite something you don't want people to notice. The seating plan proved it. My place card waited at a corner table near a decorative column far from the head table, half-shadowed. Like I was a staff member on break. Mom saw me approach and smiled like she was trying to remember how. You made it, she said. I scanning my dress the way she used to scan my report cards, hunting for something that would let her feel disappointed. No +1, she asked. No, I said, just me. Dad leaned in, voice low and paternal in the way that always meant control. Try not to make it about you. I stared at him. When have I ever had the chance? He looked away as if my question were rude. Cooper slid up beside me a minute later. He didn't sit. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just looked at my table and smirked. Corner, he said. Makes sense. I laughed once. Dry. Who decided that? He shrugged. It's a big night, Scar Hallberg. People, investors, the whole corridor crowd. Just don't be weird. Define weird, I said. He lowered his voice, still smiling like we were posing for cameras. Don't tell anyone you're my sister. There it was. Clean, casual, like asking me to pass the salt. I felt my face go hot, then cold. He tapped the table lightly. Don't make this a thing. His family is old school. They've like polished. So, I'm not polished, I said. He tilted his head like he was indulging me. You're intense and your job. No one knows what that is. It's awkward. It hit me the way it always does. It's a polite cruelty that sounds reasonable until you realize it's just contempt-wearing manners. You dragged me here, I said softly. I invited you, he corrected, and the smile sharpened. Be grateful. Dinner rolled out in expensive waves. People toasted, laughed, traded business gossip as if it were intimacy. I tried to disappear into my corner, tasting my own bitterness with each bite. I watched my parents lean into Hallberg's orbit like worshippers. Mom laughing too loudly, Dad nodding too hard. Then Cooper appeared again, brighter, louder. A man stepping onto his stage. Come on, he said, and his hand closed around my wrist. Cooper, now. He hissed under his breath and dragged me away from my corner table like I was a loose thread he needed to tuck in. Heads turned, smiles followed. I could feel the room noticing me for the first time, and it wasn't curiosity. It was entertainment. We reached Victor Hallberg, near the center of the ballroom. He stood with a small group of men in tailored suits, the kind who speak softly because the world leans in to hear them. Silver at his temples, broad shoulders, calm eyes that looked like they'd watched storms and bought the insurance. Cooper's grip stayed on my wrist. "Victor," Cooper said warmly, "there's someone you should meet." Victor turned with a practiced courtesy of a man used to introductions. His gaze skimmed me once. The fast inventory people do when they decide whether you matter. Cooper's grin widened. "This is our family failure," he said, like it was a joke everyone was supposed to share. Mom stepped closer, eager to play her part. "We don't brag about her," she added, a light laugh, as if apologizing for my existence in the room. Dad chuckled in solidarity. For a second, it could have passed as harmless teasing. The guest faces held polite amusement. Someone near us let out a small laugh. Victor Holberg didn't. He looked at me again. Not a skim, a study. My pulse thudded loud in my ears. I kept my chin level because if I lowered it, the room would feel like it had one. His face changed, not slowly, like a realization creeping in, but sharply, as if a memory had grabbed him by the throat. His hand, mid-gesture, stilled. His mouth parted slightly. He froze. The air around us thinned. Conversations dulled. I could feel the attention sharpen into a blade. Then Victor spoke quietly, like he didn't trust his voice not to crack. "So it's you," he said. "This is unexpected." Silence hit like a dropped glass that never shattered. Cooper blinked hard, his smile slipping. "Sorry, what?" Victor didn't look at him. He looked at me, eyes locked, recognition plain as a bruise. I swallowed. "Have we met?" "Not in person," Victor said. "But I know you." Mom's laugh out wrong. "Oh, well, Scarlett is. She does little projects." Dad stepped in smooth. "She's always been quiet, doesn't like attention." Victor's gaze didn't waver. "No," he said, almost to himself. "She likes results." Cooper forced a laugh. "Too high, Victor. She's harmless." Tur's head turned sharp. "Harmless," he repeated, and the word sounded ridiculous in his mouth. "That's an interesting description for someone who saved my company." Cooper went pale. I stood there, my wrists still warm from his grip, trying to understand how a man like Victor Halberg could possibly know my face. 8 years earlier, I wasn't Scarlett to anyone important. I was a night dispatcher in an outsourced call center. Fluorescent lights, stale coffee, headset dents in my hair. I made barely enough to cover rent and student loan payments that felt like a joke. Then a hurricane slammed the East Coast. Ports closed. Containers stacked in two. Mountains, rail lines clogged. Every hour of delay bled money out of companies like Halberg's. The phone lines screamed. Carriers threatened lawsuits. Dispatchers read scripts that sounded like lies because they were. Between calls, I started mapping the chaos. Not because I believed I could fix it, because watching a system collapse makes my brain itch. I pulled open rail maps, yard capacity reports, carrier lists. I looked for secondary nodes, smaller junctions, overlooked yards. I built a crude model on my old laptop, split the flow, reroute through less obvious rail hubs, use regional carriers for short legs, stitch the network back together like a patched artery. It wasn't elegant, it didn't need to be. It just needed to keep freight moving. In one weekend, I wrote an algorithm and a report. Then I found a generic email in Halberg's directory and sent it in. No greeting, no plea, just the logic and the map. I expected nothing. I got nothing. A month later, I quit the call center. My name disappeared into turnover and trash bins. I told myself the email was deleted by someone too busy to care. Apparently, it wasn't. After the wedding, Victor's assistant found me near the terrace and guided me to a small private room. The door shut. The music outside became muffled, like the world turning its volume down so reality could speak. Victor Halberg sat across from me, hands folded. He didn't waste time on pleasantries. "I owe you," he said. I let out a breath that almost turned into a laugh. You don't even know. Me, I know the work, he replied. Your routing model during the hurricane saved 3 major contracts and kept our network from collapsing completely. We implemented it company-wide. We still use the logic. I stared at him, stunned. Something in my chest tightened. Not pride exactly, more like grief for the years I spent being treated like nothing. HR couldn't find you, he continued. Dispatch center outsourced records were incomplete. High turnover. Your name didn't show in our system.